Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. This one is going to be my thoughts on CinemaCon 2025 and what Avatar news we did and didn't get coming out of the event. I think it's fair to say, the fandom went into this, I think, with expectations very much in the right place. No one was expecting a crazy amount of information. We knew where we're at. We know the way Paramount typically does their stuff, so we knew to go in only expecting bare minimum, and they really only gave bare minimum. They did, I think, less than we expected. I suppose to a certain degree, it's not far off what we expected, but the problem is I think we still come out of this basically in the same spot with this movie, where all the articles talking about the little bits and pieces of information that we did get are using the stock imagery. I even predicted the exact image that they would use in a lot of these articles. So look, IGN are using this classic, Screen Time is using this one, and you've seen it all across the place, because we come out of this event still with no official image of any sort, logo or otherwise, to highlight what this movie is. So we still have to talk about this in the context of 20-year-old stock imagery. That's the big problem, I think, coming out of this, is that it's crazy that there is no official image to attach to this. There's nothing that I can put in the thumbnail of this video to represent what this movie is. It's still just this movie that we trust exists because we're gradually getting information, but we're still not there yet. I guess it doubles down, I guess triples down on the point that I've been making in a lot of my videos recently. The way Paramount market their movies is that they only talk about them much closer to release. This is becoming, I think, more and more clear as time goes on. I think especially coming out of this, that we're 9-10 months still to go. It's still early compared to other companies. They were putting out teasers for stuff in like 2027, later in 2026, but Paramount, this is the company that with a lot of their recent stuff only puts out a trailer 4 or 5 months before release, and that, like, even putting something out 6 months before release seems like pretty good for Paramount. And I think that's just what we have to deal with and accept ultimately. I still think it is completely fair for anyone to feel really disappointed as an Avatar fan coming out of this event, because I think with just a slight tweak and just a little bit more, I think people would have come out of this, like, I think reasonably happy, even if it's going to be a frustrating thing that they don't put out information that early about the movie. So what did we actually get, didn't get, sort of thing? The big thing, we got our finalized title. Seems to be now officially locked in. This is the official title. The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender. I don't think it's a particularly great title in that, like, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's functional. From a marketing point of view, it is a very functional title, because they seem to want to stay away from Avatar with the movie, so that they don't, I suppose, get confused with James Cameron's Avatar, especially when it has a title that reads kind of our Avatar-y with, what's it called, like Avatar Fire and Ash. I'm not sure they maybe want to have Avatar Lost Realm, and you'd almost read those two titles and assume they're from the reverse franchise. So in this case, they're going with the other identifiable feature of our Avatar as a franchise, and that is The Last Airbender, the name of the characters. They're going for these two naming conventions. So it is the two of them just mashed together in a relatively long, kind of clunky title, in the sense that it's two titles in one. It's the other region name of the original show, The Legend of Aang, just without the Avatar on the front, and then it is the working title, Aang the Last Airbender, also included there. Like I said, from a marketing point of view, it works because it's going to be abundantly clear what this is to people. Oh, Aang's in a new movie. Oh, Last Airbender, I know that. That's what they're going for. That's why it is what it is. Of course, we want it to be, I think, a little bit more representative of what the movie is actually about. We still don't really know much about that. But for the launch of the franchise, the relaunch of the franchise, where this is going to have a box office number that it's kind of looking to hit, this title is probably what's going to ensure it makes the most money possible and doesn't confuse people because it's been a while since the last, animated Avatar thing. It's fine, even if it is a bit clunky, like I said. As for what else came out, a few places are coming out with this. Apparently they said this at the event, that the movie will follow Aang, Katara, Sokka, Zuko and Toph in their late 20s, early 30s. Now this is actually a little bit later on than we maybe expected it to be. I think all of the earlier information from casting was perhaps suggesting Aang is 24 in the movie, which would make Katara 26, Zuko 28. This probably puts it more as Aang's 28, Katara's 30, Zuko 32, as probably the way the gang is going to work out. I think the main thing that this probably does is Boomy is probably born already in that case, because I think when we were going with the younger ages and we were doing the calculations, it's probably hit and miss, like 50-50. Is Boomy born at this time? Is he not? Maybe. This probably pushes it to, like, it'd be weird if he wasn't born, because I think we have a decent amount to speculate on in that regard. But either way, it's still a pretty vague thing. I think it would have been nice if they maybe just came out and confirmed the ages of the characters directly rather than a age range. But, nice enough that we got another little detail. In terms of actors, it seems like they led with the idea that it's starring Eric Nam, Dave Bautista, and Steven Yeun. So Steven Yeun does get added on here. It doesn't say who he's playing, which is weird because Variety got the scoop on this, even though we didn't know it before. It makes that so weird what happened there. But either way, you can see what they're doing. They're highlighting Steven Yeun as one of the main actors in the movie, because of course Eric Nam is our Aang, Dave Bautista is going to be the new villain for the movie, and I think typically it makes sense that, like, okay, Steven Yeun as maybe our Zuko, who typically often is one of the more high profile characters in the show. We'll see what they do. Like, this was an opportunity to reveal that he's Zuko. What are they waiting for? Like, that's another weird thing in this coming out of it, is that, like, why do you just do that when you actually confirmed the characters last time out? And it just feels so weird that ultimately you reflect back on it, and, like, to a certain degree, they arguably gave us more information the last 2 years at this event than they did this year. Because again, like, it's crazy that they actually put out an image 2 years ago at this event, but they didn't last year or this year. Actually crazy. Like, we'll get into the whole logo thing in a second. Screen time in a few other places continue to say January 20th, but January 30th is the date. I'm guessing they just have that in their heads and they refuse to just kind of update it to the 30th. Because, places like Luis Fernando and also IGN mention January 30th, but we'll talk about that in a second. Luis Fernando has another interesting piece of information, in that apparently they confirmed that the animation for the movie finished production last week. Now, I'm not sure specifics of how many stages of production this means, but that seems really, really notable for an animated movie, for it to finish animation production. That's pretty notable. There's obviously some post-production stuff, I guess, that still needs to be done. Maybe ADR with the voice actors, maybe some kind of final special effects, kind of stages of animation, editing type stuff that you still need to do. But that's a huge step in the right direction that, like, borderline, I think most people would interpret that as meaning the movie is mostly done and we're like 9-10 months to go still. And that's pretty strong, which begs the question, why can't you show any of that? That's a pretty notable update and you're not showing us anything? That's kind of odd in my mind. As for the whole date thing, like I said, IGN also have the January 30th date, but I'm a bit confused as to if they actually said that date in the panel, or if it's just a lot of these outlets echoing the date that we knew from before, as in they never actually said The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender is coming out January 30th at this event. They just said, like, I almost read some of the other recaps of the panel as they confirmed this and another movie are both coming out in 2026, but did they actually give a specific date? I'm not sure, just because a few places did put out January 20th. And if you were literally told in the panel January 30th, I don't know how you continue to make that mistake. So I have some slight doubts over some of this stuff, but ultimately it seems like we come out of this event with the January 30th date still intact, which is good in that I think everyone went in expecting some sort of a delay. Now, I want to be clear. I still expect the movie to be delayed at some point. Like, even if it's only a minor date change, I think at some point in the coming months, we're going to hear about this movie having a different date. Remember what happened last time out at CinemaCon? We went into the event and came out of the event with the October 2025 date still intact. It was after CinemaCon, like a week or two afterwards, I think, when they actually confirmed the release date change to January. Now, I'm wondering, will they do that again? And they maybe didn't want to use this event to reveal a more negative piece of information that the movie has basically been delayed, because they had been somewhat public with this January 30th date. The only other new piece of information is in IGN's report. They mention, of course, that, you know, it's from the presentation at CinemaCon. No footage was shown, but the film's logo was revealed. Nowhere else, as far as I'm aware, mentions the logo. I don't think we've heard a description of the logo, if there's anything of note here. I'm guessing it probably just is Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender in roughly Avatar-style font, with probably some element logos over the top, like is usual for Avatar logos. It probably didn't stand out enough to a lot of people, even though I think for us as an audience, I think it's a bit more meaningful if they had released it, which begs the question, why didn't they release it? If it is just maybe a text logo that was shown, why couldn't this have been made public, just to have some visual to attach onto this movie so we don't constantly have to do this? Like, IGN's article, I think, would be so much better if that was the logo for the new movie with the title, even if it was just text. So much better. Stop using this image, you know, as well. It's just kind of crazy. Because again, like, the weird thing about this specific shot is like, what location in the Avatar world are the gang in? It's like, that's the Great Wall of China, isn't it? It's not a wall of Ba Sing Se, I think, as often people maybe assume it to be. But when you look in the background, it's like, that's not that. Such a weird one that everyone goes for that image. It's so odd. But yeah, that's it. That's the news. It's to recap it again. Legend of Aang, Last Airbender is the official title of the movie. They apparently doubled down on January 30th as the date for the movie. They were shown a logo, though this was not released publicly. They did mention officially Stephen Yeun as being part of the cast, though they didn't say who he is playing. They mentioned apparently that it is going to be the main ATLA cast in their late 20s, early 30s, and the animation has apparently finished production as of last week. Interesting. And that's it. What else is there to talk about? And there really isn't anything. And that's, I think, the big problem coming out of this. This could have been a pretty notable step in the marketing cycle for this movie. But it's not really, because we've not really made much progress, ultimately. There's nothing else to talk about. There's no speculation to be had here. And again, I just double down on the idea of, clearly, Paramount's approach with all of their projects, not just Aang, like Avatar. This is not Paramount treating Avatar differently to their other franchises. I've mentioned this so many times in previous videos. Look at even Sonic 3. Sonic is one of their big franchises, the movies that they have going on. Sonic 3 was hyped to the moon because of Shadow, Keanu Reeves, but look at the cycle of information and how it came out for that movie. They took their time revealing information for that movie. The fandom was waiting. They were gasping for the trailer by the time it finally came out. It was only, I think, 4 months before release that the trailer actually released, the first trailer for Sonic 3. And if they do that with Sonic, where they could have had the most amazing marketing cycle for months and months and months, but they still waited until the last minute. Look at what they do with stuff like Transformers 1. They do a similar thing. Of course, they're doing the same thing for Avatar. Even look at the upcoming SpongeBob movie, which is out like the month before. They had a little bit more going on, but they still fundamentally, I wouldn't say, like, blew the roof off the place by giving us crazy extra information on that movie. And that's only a few weeks beforehand. So this is just a Paramount thing. And it's not specifically targeting Avatar. It's just they tend to have an approach which is leave all the marketing until right towards the end. And it is frustrating for us as Avatar fans, I think, to accept that, because we want the information probably as early as possible. Like, we wanted stuff like a year ago, a year and a half ago. So the fact that we're under a year and we still don't have anything is very, very frustrating. I would still put it down as it's a tick in the box in terms of bad marketing for Paramount, because I think they had an opportunity with how many eyes were on this event. CinemaCon, sure, it's a behind closed doors event and stuff like that, and it's in a weird spot, but eyes are on this. People expect public announcements coming out of CinemaCon. It's kind of half and half at this point. They missed an opportunity, a massive opportunity here, by kind of not really maybe judging the room correctly, not realizing, not considering the fandom to a certain degree, and just putting out the bare minimum. They could have generated some nice excitement here, because we're still kind of in the middle of like the 20th anniversary for Avatar. You just announced Seven Havens not that long ago. It felt like you could have just done a little bit more, linked it all together with the 20th anniversary leading into the relaunch of the franchise. You could have had a pretty notable segment here, but they didn't do that. And it's like, why? Again, we'll wait and see. I'm not going to just absolutely fully judge Paramount on the full marketing scope right now, when it really all comes down to, realistically, when they put out the first trailer, do they get it right? Because if that trailer comes out and it misses the mark, that's the truly terrible point. That's what they got wrong with Transformers. One is that the first trailer was not great, and that affected the entire cycle of the movie. Really didn't matter what had come out beforehand. That first trailer was what set people's expectations for that movie. That's what they need to get right for this. And because they haven't put out any visual, it's all on that first trailer, I guess, because I don't see the spot where we're getting other information on this movie ahead of time. Like, Annecy Film Festival, I haven't even looked up when that is, but I guess that should be between now and San Diego Comic-Con towards the end of July. But then I asked the question, is San Diego Comic-Con not a little bit early for how Paramount typically do things? And this is a crazy thing of, like, imagine we don't get information on the movie now at San Diego. Especially if the movie does maybe get a delay in between now and then. That would push things back again, certainly. I don't know. I think the problem that's maybe happened here is that they had an opportunity to make people's confidence in Paramount Avatar Studios go up with an information reveal at CinemaCon. I think that what they've done here is bring the confidence down, and it already wasn't in a good spot, but just with how minimal they were with this, they've not helped really things at all. Again, I don't want to be full on doom and gloom, because I don't think it is full on doom and gloom, because it is still pretty early for Paramount, it needs to be noted. But yeah, as a fan, I sat there during this event, hyped, waiting for news to happen, and nothing happened. Of course, I'm a little bit annoyed, but I'm also aware that this is how Paramount do things overall. Again, it's on the next time, really, now. Now that some of this basic information is in place, it's now on, when will you deliver the visuals? When will the marketing properly get going, where we're seeing this posted about on social media, on the official channels, all this sort of stuff? It's all properly working together, because I think the fact that there was information here and they didn't immediately post about it on the official social media channels is telling. That, in my mind, that is them not really considering what came out of this to be actual news. Because if it was, they'd post about it on those channels, and as far as I'm aware up to now, they haven't. So that's a pretty notable thing there. So just going to wrap it up there, just open it up to you guys. What are your thoughts on this? We got the title, a few other little tidbits of information, but ultimately less than we expected. Quite a bit less than we expected. I'm somewhat understanding of why this happened, but I'm still, as a fan, a bit frustrated that they deemed that this was all they needed to do at this point in time, given the timing that is actually in it. Where are you at now coming out of this? What are your thoughts on what I had to say? But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.